Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be looking at designing a fashion app. This is the prototype that we follow, and let's quickly look at how the end result is going to look like. So this is what we expect to get at the end of the day when we run in the simulator. This video is going to be in 2 or 3 parts. In each of the parts, we'll be designing each of these pages and also the details page when you click on an item. Without wasting time, let's get started. So I have Visual Studio 2019 open here. I'm going to create a new project, Xamarin Forms mobile app. Let's call it fashion app. I'm going to select the blank template. Great. So we have our project successfully open here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that we have the latest Xamarin Forms NuGet package installed. So let's right click here, say manage NuGet package for solution, and from the installed section of the NuGet package, we're going to look at the Xamarin Forms and update it. So let's look for Xamarin Forms from this list. So this is Xamarin Forms. Let's wait the latest stable version. Okay, so the latest stable version is 3156. So let's install in all our projects. Okay, and accept. Okay, so we have that installed, we have that updated, but the next thing we want to do is to install a carousel view, because we're going to be using a carousel view in our project. So let's quickly install that. So we're going to install this one, carousel view.forms plugin. Select all your projects and install. Okay. Okay, so we have that also installed. Now, the next thing we want to do is to bring all our assets in. So let's bring our assets in here. I have assets that I've already created here for 100 iOS and the fonts. So what we're going to be using, I'll be focusing more on the iOS version. So if you want to follow along, you can also try this on the 100 version. So I'm going to come here and paste to my resource folder for iOS right here. Paste. Okay, so we have all the assets here. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring the fonts, because we'll be using custom fonts. If you look at our prototype here, you see that we have some custom fonts used here. So the font is Playfair Display. So I'm going to copy all this and I'm going to paste in the resources folder. Paste here. The next thing I want to do is to make sure that the build action is set to bundle resource. If you are using Android, make sure that it's Android assets. Make sure that the build action is Android asset if you're using the Android version to follow. Then for iOS, there's one last thing that we need to do. These fonts that we have here, we have to declare them in our info.plist. So what we're going to do is put the key in our info.plist. So I'm going to come here, open info.plist. Let's open it with XML editor, and right down here, let's paste. So the key is UI app fonts, then array of strings. So these are the fonts that we are using. So declare that. So with this, we'll be able to see our fonts change appropriately. Okay, so now that we have this all set up, before we continue, what I want to also do is to do a platform specific initialization of the carousel. So for iOS, go to app.delegate, and right before this forms.init. Let's initialize our carousel view renderer. I'm going to resolve this namespace control dot. If you are using Android, you do this in your main activity just right before the forms.init. Okay, so now that we have that set up, let's now start to build our application. So we're going to be using a shell. Shell is a feature in Xamarin Forms that's going to give us this option of tab. It's a very nice, nice feature that comes with Xamarin Forms 4.0. If you want to see how to implement shell, we have a dedicated video called implementing shell in Xamarin Forms 4.0. You will see the link in the description below, and go and watch that. So what I'm going to do is first of all set up a shell. So I'm going to remove this main page as I'm not going to be needing it. So I'll start with creating a new item. I'll start with a content page. Then from there I will change the implementation to use shell. So I'm going to call it app shell. Okay, so right here I'm going to change this from content page. I'm going to change it to shell, and I'm going to remove this. Before leaving here, let me set this property shell dot it's now visible. It's navbar is visible. Let's set it to false. Okay, so before we continue, I would also like to set our main page to use the app shell. Our main page is currently pointing to the main page I just deleted, so I'm going to change it to app shell like this. Okay, so now that we have uh, our shell right here, the next thing I have to do is okay, so there is one last thing I need to do while that is returning an error. In the app shell.xaml.cs, I have to change this to shell. Okay, yeah, don't forget that. So now I think, yeah, we are good. So now that we have this, what I'm going to do now is to set up the resources uh, and the shell itself. So I'm going to start with the tab. I want to declare all our tab bars down here. So I'm going to bring in a code snippet here. So this is showing us that we have a tab bar. This is declaring of the tab that we have. So we have the shop, we have the tab, they have the explore, collections, and profile, and this will go to these respective pages. So I'm going to quickly create all these pages before we continue. So I'm going to fast forward this video now, and all I'm just going to do is just set up these pages. Okay, so what I've done is to create a folder here called views, and in the view I have collections page, explore page, profile page, and the shop page, and that is what defines all our pages here. So the last thing I'm going to do right here is to bring in the namespace. Very nice. I'm going to call it views. I'm going to set it to fashionhub.views so that we're able to make use of this namespace right here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to declare the styles, the resources for our shell. I'm going to bring in a code snippet here and explain. So I have a shell.resources here, resource dictionary. I have three colors. The theme color, which is a brown color, I have gray, and background color, which is like hash. Then I set a style here called build style, setting the background color of the shell, foreground color, and all the colors of the shell. Then the tab bar too, declaring the properties of the tab bar, the background color, and all other colors to make use of the colors that I've selected here. Then the last thing I did here is to create a style to target all the tab bar, to target this tab bar, and make it based on this base style that I created right here. So with that, we're going to have it's just controlling the theme of the app. Okay, so we have our shell successfully set up. So let's go to our shop page and start to work on it. So this first page, this landing, is the first thing we want to do. So we have the banner at the top here. We have these two buttons, favorite and cart. We have the collection list and we have the new trend list. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide our page into three: one for the banner here, the other row for this part, and the last one to take all this part. So we have three rows: auto, and this takes the rest of the page. Okay, so let's go to our shop page and quickly do that. Shop page. So I'm going to do is remove all this away. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring in a grid here. Okay, so this grid has three rows: auto, and star takes the rest of it. And in this row, we're going to have a carousel. So I'm going to bring in a carousel with some properties here. And the first row. So we have a carousel as the name of the banners wants to show indicator. The indicator shape to be circle, and the indicator tint color to be this. Height of 270. If you look at our prototype, we have the height of 270. See here, it's height of 270. Okay, so we have already set the item source to bind to banners. We're going to declare the banner list in our code behind of the page. Okay, so let me quickly resolve this namespace. Control dot to bring in the carousel.plugin here. So we have it now in our namespace. Okay, so the last thing I want to do, or the next thing I want to do, which is the last thing for the carousel, is to set the items template of the carousel. So I'm going to bring in the template right here. Okay, so let me zoom. So in this template now we have a data template, and our template contains a grid, and we have this image. This image is the image at the top right here, this wristwatch and tie, and we have another image that's to serve as overlay. The essence of this image is to give a subtle, faint, transparent effect to the image. You can use a box view if you like, but I like to use an image in this case. Then I have a stack layout that contains the heading, the message, and the caption. So this is the heading, this is the message, and this is the caption right here. So we'll be binding all this in code. And if you look here, we already have our, we already set them to use fonts, some fonts right here. Okay, so before I continue, let me just quickly set up our fonts so that we don't forget. Our font will be in the hub.xaml. So let me go to the hub.xaml and bring in all our fonts, put it in the resources. So we have our custom fonts here. This is a Playfair bold that's pointing to Playfair, Playfair normal, and all our fonts that we have used. We declare them in this place, so we can make use of them like this. Okay. So now that I have this, let's continue to work on our page. The next thing we want to do is to declare the this favorite and the cart part. They're going to be in the second row. So I'm going to bring in a stack layout that contains two image buttons. The stack layout contains two image buttons is in the first row, which is this row. I mean the row index 1, that is the second row. As orientation of horizontal option hand, and some margins. So we have this image button right here, declare. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is to set up this part. I'm going to put this part in a separate grid, so that and also in a scroll view, because we want to be able to scroll this up, want to be able to scroll it up and down, and Also, this part will be able to scroll left and right. Also, this left and right. So, just in case you're using a phone with a low resolution, so we want this part portion to be scrollable. Uh, so that's why I'm going to put them in the separate. I'm going to put them in the separate section. So I have a scroll view. Let's go back to our code. So right here, I'm going to bring in a scroll viewer to take care of that. So I have this scroll viewer here. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in a grid that will hold the two lists. So I have a grid here. The grid has two rows. The grid has two rows. Okay, row one, row two, and this is going to be what's going to handle each of these parts. This is one row. This is another row. Okay, I'm going to bring in a grid. So this grid also contains two rows. So this is the other grid I just brought in that's going to handle each of these. So the grid is going to handle this. So this is the first row. This is the first row of the grid, and this will be the second row of the grid. Okay, so the first row will only contain the heading and the show hold option. And this second row is going to contain the scroll view, so I'm able to scroll left and right. Let me show you. So this will be a scroll view, so I'm able to scroll left and right like that. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the label for the heading and the show all. These two will be in the first row. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to bring our scroll view for for that I will take care of the scrolling of our object. Okay, like this. Okay, and now in our scroll view, we're going to use a stack layout. Now, the stack layout, we're using a stack layout because we're not using a list because we need that horizontal effect. So the stack layout will go, the orientation will be horizontal, and if you look at our scroll view here also, the orientation is horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to bring in our stack layout, and we'll be making use of a property of a stack layout that was introduced in Xamarin Form 4. I think 3.0 or 3.5. It's called the Bindable Layout. So if you look here, this is our stack layout, and it has some properties. Now I've already set the bindable layout.item source to collection list. So this was going to be holding the collection list uh, of this collection list that we have here. This list. This is a scroll, the stack layer that will hold it. And the items has a data template. We set the data template of the items here. The image, the name of the product, and the price, just as we have in this place. The image, the name, the product name, and the price. And has some attributes set, the font size, and the font family for all this. Okay, so that defines uh, the collection row right up here. So the next thing I'm going to do, if you look at prototype, let me show you a prototype. You see that this also follows the same. This part also follows the same as the top part here. The only difference is in the data template. So the structure is going to be similar, but the data template structure is going to be different. Even though they have the same, so it's going to have a product name, price, and we'll have this button at the cart. Say hit. It also has an image. So I'm going to bring in the code snippet for that. Okay, so let's go back to our project. I'm going to paste this right here. So if you look at it, it looks similar to what we have. The only difference is in the structure of the data template here. We have to stack things differently. Instead of stacking vertically, we had to stack these first parts in the horizontal. This first part will be horizontal. Then we have another stack layout that takes these three items. Okay, so now that we have this all set up, in order to have some items populated in our page, because we have just been binding to a list, but we've not declared those lists. So let's go to the shop page, the xamarin.cs. So right here, the first thing I'm going to do is to set the binding context of this and set it to itself, so that any property that was set here will be able to bind to it. So I'm going to bring in three properties that we've already bounded to in our XAML. That is the banners, collection list, and trend list. You can see them here. So we have banners. We have the banners here. That is for our carousel. We have the collection list, and we have the trends list. So these are the properties, and all these contain lists that will bind to the object. So if you look here, all these three, they are implementing three different methods to get a list. So I'm going to bring the methods here. So we have these three methods. It's going just populating our list with some data. Then the last thing is all these classes that are complaining. Let me bring those classes out, and let me bring them in. I'm going to put them as an embedded class right here. Okay, so we have this. So if you run this now, we're going to see our list, our page populated with items. Now the last thing I want to do is such that we have our carousel to auto rotate from one page to another. So I'm going to bring in the implementation of that. We're going to use a timer to check this, to implement this rather. So let me bring this in. So I have on a pairing, I want to set the timer, instantiate a timer, and set the properties, and the undo the timer elapse. In the timer elapse, what we are doing is we're checking we are incrementing the position of the carousel by 1. So if it's on 0, it goes to 1, so 1 goes to 2. And because we have just two items, two pages on our carousel, we're checking if it's on the index 2, then go back to index 0, so as the thing can continue in a loop. Okay, so let me bring the declaration of the timer up here as it is complaining timer, and resolve the namespace using system timers. Okay, so now we have it. So let's run our project now and see what we have. So I'm going to run this now. Yeah, there you have it. So we have our page, and let's check if it's rotating. Yes, it's rotating automatically. If you look at the top here, we have our fonts here, custom fonts, showing right up here. So there we have it. Thanks for watching this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up by liking it, and also share with your friends and your community so that other people can benefit from this video. Also subscribe to this channel so that when we upload new content, you get notified. We are still going to be designing other pages like I showed you. So please subscribe so that you get notified when we upload new content. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.